Part 1. The diplomatic research station floated silently in the darkness of space, orbiting a small gray moon that belonged to no one. Inside the station's white corridors, Teo walked toward the meeting room with a data pad in his hand. He had been waiting for this day for 3 months. Today he would finally meet the Corvathian ambassador, who would work with him on the cultural exchange program. Teo was a xenoanthropologist. He studied alien cultures and helped humans understand other species. He was 32 years old and had spent most of his adult life preparing for moments like this. The Corvathians had made contact with humanity 2 years ago, and the meeting had been peaceful. Both species wanted to learn from each other. But learning was not always easy when two species were so different. The door to the meeting room slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, a Corvathian woman stood by the window looking out at the stars. She turned when she heard him enter. Her name was Velara, and she was unlike anyone Teo had ever seen. She was tall, nearly 6.5 feet, with skin that shimmered like polished silver in the station's lights. Her eyes were large and completely black with no visible pupils. She wore a simple gray uniform that covered her body from neck to feet. Her movements were precise and careful, as if every action had been planned in advance. "Greetings, Teo of Earth," she said. Her voice was clear and measured, coming through the translation device attached to her collar. "I am Velara, Cultural Ambassador of Corvath Prime. I look forward to our work together." Teo smiled and stepped forward, extending his hand. "It's good to finally meet you, Velara. I've been studying your culture's records, and I'm excited to learn more." Velara looked down at his extended hand with confusion. She did not move to take it. For a long moment, she simply stared at his open palm as if it were a puzzle she needed to solve. "You wish to touch me?" she asked slowly. "Is this part of a human greeting ritual?" Teo lowered his hand, feeling slightly embarrassed. "Yes, sorry. I should have remembered. It's called a handshake. We use it to show respect and friendliness. But we don't have to do it if it makes you uncomfortable." "I am not uncomfortable," Velara replied. "I am simply unfamiliar with the purpose. In Corvathian culture, physical contact is reserved exclusively for reproductive purposes. We do not touch otherwise." Teo nodded, making a mental note. He had read about this in the preliminary reports, but hearing it directly was different. "I understand. Among humans, we use touch for many reasons. Communication, comfort, affection. It's how we connect with each other." "Connect?" Velara tilted her head slightly. "You mean establish data links?" "No, not like that. Emotional connection, bonding." Teo searched for the right words. "Touch helps us feel close to other people. It makes us feel less alone." Velara was silent for a moment, processing this information. "I see. This is a significant cultural difference. I will add it to my research notes." They sat down at the table and Teo activated his datapad. For the next hour, they discussed the structure of their work together. They would meet 3 times a week to share information about their respective cultures. The goal was to create a comprehensive guide that would help both species understand each other better. As they worked, Teo noticed how Velara approached everything with scientific precision. She asked detailed questions and took extensive notes. She treated their conversation like a laboratory experiment, observing and recording without emotion. He found it fascinating but also a bit sad. There was something missing in the way she interacted with the world around her. "Tell me about Corvathian families," Teo said, changing the subject. "How do your people raise children?" "We do not have families in the way you describe," Velara explained. "Reproduction occurs once every 7 years during a biological cycle. The individual travels to a reproduction facility, where genetic material is combined with a selected partner's contribution. The process is solitary and takes approximately 3 hours. After the offspring is created, it is raised in a communal education center. Parent and offspring meet once per year for progress reports." Teo tried to keep his expression neutral, but inside he felt shocked. "So you never live with your parents? You never grow up with them?" "That is correct. What purpose would such proximity serve?" "Well, humans believe that children need love and affection. We hold our babies, play with them, teach them, and care for them emotionally. It helps them develop into healthy adults." Velara's black eyes seemed to study him more carefully. "This concept of love appears frequently in human records. I have been unable to find a satisfactory definition. It seems to be an emotional state that defies logical classification." "It's hard to define," Teo admitted. "Love is caring deeply about someone, wanting them to be happy, being willing to sacrifice for their well-being. It's one of the most important parts of being human. And this relates to physical touch? Often, yes. We hug people we love. We hold hands with romantic partners. We kiss. Physical touch is one way we express love. Velara made several notes on her device. Fascinating. You use touch as a form of communication. In Corvathian society, we have never developed this. Our communication is purely verbal and data-based. As they continued talking, Teo pulled up a chart on his datapad. He leaned across the table to show Velara the screen. This shows the different human cultures and their greeting customs. See, some shake hands, some bow, some kiss cheeks. As he pointed to the screen, his hand accidentally brushed against Velara's hand. The contact lasted only a second, but Velara pulled back as if she had been shocked. Her eyes widened and she stared at her hand where he had touched her. "Are you all right?" Teo asked, concerned. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to startle you." Velara continued staring at her hand. "What was that sensation?" she asked quietly. "Sensation? You mean the touch? When your skin contacted mine, I experienced an unexpected neural response. It was not painful, but it was different. I have no reference point for this feeling." Teo realized what had happened. "You felt it? The touch, I mean. You could feel the warmth, the texture?" "Yes, my species has nerve sensitivity similar to humans. But we are trained from birth to ignore unnecessary sensory input. Physical sensation outside of reproduction is considered irrelevant." She looked up at him. "But that was not irrelevant. My mind registered it as significant." "Why?" Teo smiled gently. "Because touch is significant. Your body knows that, even if your culture taught you to ignore it. Every living thing responds to physical contact in some way. It's natural." Velara was quiet for a long time. She looked at her hand again, then at Teo. "I would like to understand this better," she said finally. "If physical touch is so important to human culture, then I must study it to complete my mission properly." "Of course," Teo agreed. "We can explore that topic in our future meetings. Cultural exchange goes both ways. You'll teach me about Corvathian ways and I'll teach you about human ways." "Yes," Velara said, but her voice carried a note that Teo had not heard before. It sounded almost like curiosity, though he could not be sure. "I believe this exchange will be more educational than I initially anticipated." As their meeting ended and Velara left the room, she paused at the door. She looked back at Teo with those deep black eyes, and for just a moment he saw something shift in her expression. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but it was there. A crack in the perfect scientific mask she wore. The door closed behind her and Teo sat alone in the meeting room. He looked at his hand, the one that had accidentally touched hers. He had not expected such a simple gesture to have any effect on her. But clearly it had. Velara had felt something, and that small moment of unexpected sensation had opened a door. Teo wondered where that door would lead. Part 2. Velara could not stop thinking about the touch. 3 days had passed since her first meeting with Teo, and the sensation remained vivid in her memory. She had returned to her quarters on the station and immediately accessed the human cultural database. She read everything she could find about physical contact, intimacy, and human bonding practices. The information confused her. The database entries were clinical and scientific, describing nerve responses and chemical releases in the brain, but they did not explain what she had felt. The documents talked about oxytocin and dopamine, about evolutionary advantages of social bonding. None of it captured the actual experience of that brief moment when Teo's warm skin had touched hers. She sat at her desk, reviewing video footage of human interactions in the station's common areas. She watched a couple sitting together on a bench. The man had his arm around the woman's shoulders. They were not speaking, just sitting close to each other and looking at the stars through the viewport. The woman leaned her head against his shoulder. Velara replayed the footage 3 times, trying to understand. What purpose did this serve? They were not exchanging information. They were not completing a task. They were simply together. And yet when the woman smiled, Velara noticed something. The man smiled too, without even looking at her, as if her happiness had somehow transferred to him through their physical proximity. Fascinating, Velara whispered to herself. The next morning, she watched more humans. She observed them in the cafeteria, in the corridors, in the recreation areas. She saw people shake hands, pat each other on the back, Embrace when meeting after time apart. Children in the station's family quarters held their parents' hands as they walked. Friends sat close together while talking, sometimes touching an arm or shoulder for emphasis. All of this touching seemed automatic, unconscious. Humans did not stop and analyze each contact. They simply reached out to each other naturally, as if physical connection was as essential as breathing. Velara found herself envying them. For the first time in her life, she felt something was missing. Her species had evolved without this need, or perhaps they had trained it out of themselves so long ago that they had forgotten it was ever there. Either way, Corvathians lived their entire lives in physical isolation. They were never held as children, never comforted with an embrace, never felt the warmth of another being close to them. She had never questioned this before. But now, after one accidental touch from Teo, she could not stop questioning everything. When their next meeting arrived, Velara entered the room with her usual composed demeanor. But inside she felt something unfamiliar. Nervousness? Anticipation? She was not certain of the correct term. Teo was already there, setting up materials for their session. He looked up and smiled when she entered. "Good morning, Velara. I hope you've been well." "I have been functional," she replied, taking her seat across from him. Then after a pause, she added, "I have been researching human physical contact extensively since our last meeting." Teo's eyebrows rose with interest. "Oh, what did you find?"
"The database information is insufficient," she said bluntly.
"The scientific descriptions do not match the experience. I observed human interactions throughout the station, and I see that touch serves purposes beyond what the data suggests. But I still do not fully understand why humans engage in it so frequently." Teo leaned back in his chair, thinking about how to explain. "The database probably focuses on the biological aspects, but touch is about more than biology for us. It's about communication and emotion. When I hug a friend, I'm telling them they matter to me. When I hold someone's hand, I'm saying they're not alone. Touch is a language." "A language without words," Velara said slowly. "This concept is difficult for my mind to process. Corvathian communication is precise and verbal. The idea of conveying meaning through physical contact seems inefficient." "Maybe," Teo agreed. "But it's not always about efficiency. Sometimes it's about feeling connected, about sharing a moment with another person in a way that words can't capture." Velara was silent, absorbing this. Finally, she asked, "When you touched my hand accidentally, was that also communication?" "Not intentionally," Teo said carefully. "But in a way, yes. Human touch usually carries meaning even when accidental. That touch was probably my subconscious way of being friendly and open with you." "And what did you intend to communicate?" "That I see you as a person, not just as an alien or a research subject. That I'm comfortable with you." Velara looked down at her hands folded neatly on the table. "I have never been comfortable with anyone," she said quietly. "Corvathians do not form personal attachments. We have colleagues and functional relationships, but not what humans call friendship or closeness." "That sounds lonely," Teo said gently. "Lonely," Velara repeated the word. "Another human emotional state I have difficulty understanding. But perhaps I'm beginning to understand it now. After observing humans and their connections, I feel something missing in myself." "Is that loneliness?" "It might be," Teo said. "Loneliness is feeling disconnected from others, feeling like you're alone even when surrounded by people." "Yes," Velara said, and her voice held an emotion that surprised them both. "Yes, that is what I feel. I have felt it my entire life, but I never had a name for it until now. I never knew anything different was possible." Teo felt his heart ache for her. Here was this brilliant, capable being who had gone her whole life without ever experiencing genuine connection with another person. "Velara, would you like to learn more about human touch? Not just academically, but experientially. I could teach you if you want. Slowly and carefully, with your consent every step of the way." Velara's dark eyes met his. For a long moment she did not speak. He could see her thinking, calculating, weighing the risk against the potential knowledge to be gained. "Yes," she said finally. "I wish to understand. Not for my report alone, but for myself. I want to know what I have been missing." "Okay," Teo said softly. "We'll start simple. The most basic form of human connection is holding hands. It's non-threatening and common even between people who aren't romantically involved. Friends hold hands. Parents and children hold hands. It's a way of saying, 'I'm here with you.'" He slowly extended his hand across the table, palm up, leaving it open for her to choose. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you're willing, you can place your hand in mine. We'll just sit like that for a moment. No pressure, no expectations. Valara stared at his hand for what felt like a long time. Her own hand lifted slowly from the table, trembling slightly. She had made thousands of important decisions in her life, attended diplomatic meetings, represented her entire species, but this simple act of placing her hand in his felt more significant than all of those combined. Her silver fingers touched his palm first, and she felt that sensation again. Warmth, texture, the slight roughness of his skin against her smoother surface. Then she lowered her hand fully into his and Teo's fingers gently closed around hers. The sensation was overwhelming. She could feel his pulse through his fingertips, could feel the warmth of his skin spreading into hers, could feel the gentle pressure of his hand holding hers, not tightly, just holding. Present. Real. How does it feel? Teo asked quietly. Strange, Valara whispered, but not unpleasant. I feel. She searched for the right word. Grounded. As if I am more present in this moment than I usually am. And I feel connected to you. I can sense you there through this touch. Your warmth, your aliveness, well, that's exactly it, Teo said, smiling. You're experiencing connection. Physical touch creates a bond between two people, even if just temporarily. Right now, we're sharing this moment together. You're not alone, and neither am I. They sat like that for several minutes, hands clasped across the table. Valara closed her eyes and focused entirely on the sensation. She felt her heart rate slow down, felt something in her chest that she had never experienced before. A warmth that had nothing to do with temperature. When they finally released hands, Valara looked at her palm as if it had been transformed. In a way, it had. That hand had touched another being with purpose and meaning. It had connected her to someone else, if only briefly. Thank you, she said to Teo. This has been enlightening. We can do more if you want, Teo offered. In future meetings, I can teach you other forms of human touch and connection. At whatever pace you're comfortable with, Valara nodded, still staring at her hand. I would like that. I wish to understand more. I wish to experience more. As she left the meeting room that day, Valara felt different. The station corridors looked the same. The other people going about their business looked the same. But she was not the same. Something had shifted inside her. Some door had opened that could never be fully closed again. She had touched another being and felt connection. She had held a hand and felt less alone. And now that she knew what that felt like, she knew she would never be satisfied with her previous existence of isolated efficiency. The data pad in her hand contained her official notes from the meeting. But the real information she had gained could not be recorded in any report. It lived in her memory in that lingering warmth on her palm, in the new understanding that there was more to existence than she had ever been taught. For the first time in her Part 3 over the following weeks, Teo and Valara's meetings changed. They still discussed cultural practices and exchanged information for their official reports, but now there was something else happening beneath the surface. Valara was no longer content with just observing human behavior from a distance. She wanted to experience it herself. Their third meeting began like the others, with data and discussion. But halfway through, Valara stopped talking and simply looked at Teo. I want to conduct an experiment, she said. Teo closed his data pad and gave her his full attention. What kind of experiment? A controlled study of human intimacy practices. I want to understand them through direct experience rather than observation. You said you would teach me at whatever pace I was comfortable with. I wish to continue that education. I meant that, Teo said carefully. But we need to be clear about boundaries and consent. Learning about human touch is fine, but I want to make sure you're doing this because you genuinely want to, not because you feel it's required for your research. Valara considered this. I am doing this for both reasons, she admitted. My official purpose is to understand human culture, and this is a significant part of your culture. But I am also doing this because, she paused, searching for the right words, because I felt something when we held hands. Something I have never felt before, and I want to understand what that was. That's honest, Teo said. I appreciate that. Okay, let's establish some rules. First, you can stop anything at any time. Just say the word and we stop immediately. Second, we go slowly. We don't rush. Third, we only do what you're comfortable with. Is that acceptable? Yes, those parameters are logical and respectful. I accept them. Good. Teo stood up and gestured to the small seating area in the corner of the meeting room. There was a comfortable couch there where people could sit and relax. Let's sit over there. It's less formal than the table. They moved to the couch and sat down, leaving a small distance between them. Velara sat with perfect posture, her hands folded in her lap, looking like she was preparing for a scientific procedure. Teo smiled at her stiff posture. The first thing you need to know is that human touch works best when you're relaxed. If you're tense, it's harder to feel the positive effects, so just breathe and try to be comfortable. Velara made a conscious effort to relax her shoulders. It was difficult. Her entire life had been structured and controlled. Relaxation was not something she had practiced. Better, Teo said encouragingly. Now I'm going to explain what I'm doing before I do it. Is that okay? Yes, I would prefer clear communication. I'm going to put my arm around your shoulders like you saw in those videos you watched. It's called a side hug or a casual embrace. Friends do this while sitting together. It's a way of being close without being too intense. Velara nodded and Teo slowly lifted his arm and placed it gently across her shoulders. His hand rested on her far shoulder and she felt the weight of his arm across her back. The sensation was strange but not unpleasant. She could feel his warmth through the fabric of her uniform. How does that feel? He asked. Different from holding hands. More encompassing. I feel surrounded by your presence. That's good. That's the point. Now you can lean against me if you want. You don't have to, but most humans find it comfortable. Velara hesitated, then slowly let her weight shift toward him. Her head came to rest against his shoulder, and suddenly she understood why the woman in the video had done this. From this position, she could hear Teo's heartbeat. She could feel him breathing. She felt enclosed in safety, as if his presence was a shield around her. This is remarkable, she whispered. I feel secure, protected. Even though logically I know we are in the same room we have always been in, my emotional response has changed dramatically. That's what touch does, Teo explained, his voice soft. It changes how we feel about our environment and about each other. When someone holds you, your brain releases chemicals that make you feel calm and safe. It's biology, but it's also emotion working together. They sat like that for a long time. Velara let herself experience the sensation fully, analyzing every aspect of how it made her feel. She noticed that her heart rate had slowed. Her usual constant mental calculations had quieted. She felt present in the moment in a way she never had before. Teo, she said after a while, I think I am beginning to understand something important. What's that? My species has eliminated this aspect of existence in pursuit of efficiency and logic. We believed that emotional connections and physical bonds were unnecessary, but I think we were wrong. I think we have been missing something fundamental about what it means to be alive and aware. Teo was quiet for a moment, considering her words. I think you might be right. Connection is part of consciousness. When you're connected to others, you're not just an individual mind. You're part of something larger. Velara lifted her head to look at him. Their faces were closer than they had ever been before. She could see the details of his features, the warmth in his brown eyes, the way he looked at her with genuine care. Is this what humans call friendship? She asked. It could be, Teo said. Friendship takes time to develop, but I think we're building something here. I care about you, Velara, not just as a research partner, but as a person. I want you to be happy. I want you to discover all these experiences you've missed. I care about you as well, Velara said, and the words felt strange in her mouth. She had never said anything like that before. Corvathians did not express care, but she meant it. She genuinely wanted Teo to be well and happy. The realization was profound. Something in the air between them shifted. Velara noticed that Teo was looking at her differently now. There was an intensity in his gaze that had not been there before. Velara, he said carefully, I need to be honest with you about something. My feelings toward you are becoming more than just professional or friendly. I'm attracted to you, and I need you to know that before we continue these lessons. I don't want to mislead you or take advantage of your trust. Velara processed this information. Attraction, romantic interest. She had read about these concepts but never expected to encounter them personally. The idea that someone could feel this way about her was foreign and strange. What does attraction mean in practical terms? She asked. It means I enjoy being near you. It means I think about you when we're not together. It means I want to be close to you in ways that go beyond friendship. But, he added quickly, it doesn't change anything unless you want it to. We can continue as we have been with clear boundaries. Your comfort and choice are what matter most. Velara thought about this. Did she feel attraction? She did not have a reference point for the emotion. But she knew that she also thought about Teo between their meetings. She knew that she felt happy when she saw him. She knew that being close to him created sensations and feelings she wanted to experience again. I do not fully understand attraction, she said slowly, but I know that I want to be near you. I know that these experiences we share are the most significant moments of my life. Is that attraction? It could be the beginning of it, Teo said gently. Then I wish to explore it further. I want to understand what humans mean by romantic connection. Will you teach me that as well? Teo looked at her seriously. That's a bigger step. Romance involves more vulnerability and more intensity. Are you sure you're ready for that? No, Velara said honestly. I am not sure, but I want to try. For the first time in my life, I want something beyond my assigned duties. I want to know what it feels like to be close to someone in all the ways that humans experience closeness. Okay, Teo said softly, but we still go slowly. We still respect boundaries, and you can still stop at any time. Understood. Teo reached up and gently placed his hand on her cheek. The touch was tender and careful. Velara's eyes widened at the sensation. His palm was warm against her face, and the gesture felt incredibly intimate. This is how humans touch someone they care about romantically, he explained. It's gentle and intentional. It says, I see you and I cherish you. Velara felt something break open inside her chest. An emotion so powerful it almost hurt. Her eyes began to produce moisture, and she realized with shock that she was experiencing what humans called crying. I am leaking, she said in confusion, touching the tears on her face. Teo smiled softly. Those are tears. Humans cry when we feel strong emotions. Happy or sad, sometimes the feelings are so big that they overflow. These emotions are very big, Velara whispered. I did not know I was capable of feeling this much. You are, Teo assured her. You've always been capable. You just never had the chance before. Velara leaned forward, closing the small distance between them. She did not know exactly what she was doing, but instinct guided her. Her forehead touched his, and they sat there, breathing the same air, existing in the same small space. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for showing me this. Thank you for seeing me as more than just an alien species to study. Thank you for caring. You don't have to thank me, Teo replied. I'm honored to share this with Y. Part 4, the station moved through its daily cycles, but for Velara, time had taken on a different quality. Days between meetings with Teo felt longer. Hours spent doing her regular duties felt empty. She found herself counting down until their next session together, anticipating it in a way that was entirely new to her experience. She had also begun to notice changes in her own behavior. She caught herself touching things more often, feeling textures with her fingers that she had always ignored before. The smooth surface of her data pad, the rough fabric of her uniform, the cold metal of the station walls. She was awakening to physical sensation in a way she never had before. Other Corvathians on the station noticed her changes. They commented that she seemed distracted. Her reports were still accurate, but they lacked the detached precision that was expected. She wrote about human customs with warmth and curiosity rather than cold observation. Her supervisor sent her a message expressing concern about her objectivity. Velara deleted the message without responding. She did not care about objectivity anymore. When their next meeting arrived, she entered the room to find that Teo had changed the setup completely. The conference table had been pushed to the side. The couch had been moved to the center of the room. Soft music played from the station's speakers, something with gentle strings and a slow rhythm. What is this? Velara asked, though she felt pleased by the surprise. I thought we could try something different today, Teo said. Humans don't just sit and touch. We do activities together while being close. I wanted to show you another aspect of human connection. What activity? Dancing, Teo said with a smile. It's a way humans move together to music. It's about synchronizing with another person, feeling the rhythm together, sharing space and movement. Velara felt nervous. I do not know how to dance. Corvathians do not have this practice. That's okay. I'll teach you. It's easy and there's no wrong way to do it. Just follow my lead. Teo walked over to her and extended his hand. Velara took it without hesitation now, comfortable with this basic touch. He drew her closer to the center of the room, then placed her left hand on his shoulder. "I'm going to put my hand on your waist," he explained. "Is that okay?" Velara nodded, and she felt his hand settle gently on her side. The touch was firm but respectful, holding her but not constraining her. His other hand held hers, raised slightly to the side. "Now just follow my movement," he said. "Step back when I step forward. Side when I go side. It's like a conversation with our bodies instead of words." The music continued its gentle flow, and Teo began to move. Velara stumbled at first, uncertain and clumsy. But gradually she began to feel the pattern. Step forward, step back, step to the side. Their bodies moved together, and she started to understand what he meant about synchronization. "You're getting it," Teo encouraged, and she could hear the smile in his voice as they danced. Velara became aware of how close they were. She could feel the warmth of his body near hers. Could smell his scent, something clean and distinctly human. Could see the way he looked at her with focus and care. Every point where they touched, her shoulder under his hand, her hand in his, felt alive with sensation. "This is remarkable," she said softly. "We are moving as one entity. I can anticipate your movements and adjust my own. It is like our bodies are communicating." "Exactly," Teo said. "That's what dancing is. It's physical communication. Trust and cooperation expressed through movement." They continued to dance, and Velara felt something she had never experienced before. Joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy in the act of moving with another person. The music flowed through her, and she let herself feel it instead of analyzing it. She let herself be present in the moment, in this strange and wonderful experience of connection. When the song ended, they stopped moving but did not separate. They stood there still holding each other, both breathing slightly faster from the exertion. "Velara," Teo said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Yes, what do you want?" "From this, from us, from what we're learning together, what do you actually want?" Velara thought about his question. It was the first time in her life anyone had asked her what she wanted. Corvathians were told what they wanted. Their society, their biology, their purpose, all of it was defined for them. But Teo was asking her to look inside herself and name her own desires. "I want to know what it feels like to be fully alive," she said finally. "I want to experience everything that I have been denied. I want to understand what humans mean by pleasure and intimacy and love. She paused, gathering courage. "I want to be close to you in every way that is possible between two beings." Teo's expression became serious. "That includes physical intimacy. Romantic intimacy. Are you sure you're ready for that? I need to know you understand what you're asking for." "I have been researching," Velara said. "I understand that humans express romantic love through physical intimacy. I know that it involves vulnerability and trust. I know that it creates bonds between people. I want to experience that with you." "But you've never experienced anything like that before," Teo said gently. "For humans, that kind of intimacy is usually built up to gradually over time. We date. We spend time together. We get to know each other deeply before we share that level of closeness." "We have been getting to know each other," Velara pointed out. "I know you better than I have ever known anyone. I trust you more than I have ever trusted anyone. Time is a human construct. What matters is the depth of our connection, not the number of days we have spent together." Teo looked at her for a long moment. "You're right," he admitted, "and I care about you deeply. But I want to make sure I'm not taking advantage of your inexperience. I want you to choose this freely, understanding what it means." "I am choosing freely," Velara said firmly. "Perhaps I do not fully understand what it will mean. How could I? I have no experience. But I know that I want to discover it with you. I know that when you touch me, I feel things I never knew I could feel. I know that when we are together, I am more myself than I have ever been. Is that not enough reason?" Teo reached up and cupped her face gently with both hands. "It's enough," he said softly. "If you're sure, then yes, it's enough." "I am sure. Then I want to teach you about one more thing before we go further. I want to teach you about kissing." Velara's heart rate increased. She had read about kissing, seen it in videos, but the descriptions had seemed strange and unhygienic. Pressing mouths together seemed to serve no logical purpose. But now, standing close to Teo, feeling his warmth and his care, she wanted to understand it. "Kissing is how humans show romantic affection," Teo explained. "It's intimate and personal. It's a way of saying I want to be close to you in the most direct way possible. I'm going to kiss you now, if that's okay." "Yes." Velara whispered. Teo leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away if she changed her mind. But she did not pull away. She stayed perfectly still as his face came closer, as his breath touched her lips, as his mouth gently pressed against hers. The sensation exploded through her entire body. His lips were soft and warm, moving gently against hers. She did not know what to do at first, but instinct took over. Her lips moved in response, learning the rhythm, finding the pattern. His hands moved from her face to her waist, drawing her closer, and she wrapped her arms around his neck, holding on as if he were the only stable thing in a spinning universe. When they finally separated, Velara could barely speak. She struggled to find words. I felt that everywhere, not just where our mouths touched. Everywhere in my body. How is that possible? That's the power of intimate touch, Teo said, his voice slightly breathless. When you kiss someone you care about, it affects your whole system. Your brain, your nerves, your emotions, all of it responds. I want more, Velara said, surprising herself with her boldness. I want to learn everything. I want to know what pleasure means. I want to experience what humans call making love. Teo took a deep breath. Are you absolutely certain? Once we cross that line, there's no going back. Your understanding of yourself and your life will change permanently. It has already changed permanently, Velara said. The moment you first touched my hand, everything changed. I can never return to what I was before. I do not want to return. I want to move forward. With you. Teo searched her eyes, looking for any doubt or hesitation. He found none. What he saw was determination, curiosity, trust, and something else. Something that looked very much like the human emotion called desire. Okay, he said softly. Not here, not now, but soon. Come to my quarters tomorrow evening. We'll have privacy there and time, and I'll show you everything you want to learn. I'll be gentle and patient, and I'll make sure your first experience of intimacy is beautiful. Tomorrow, Velara repeated. The word felt heavy with promise and possibility. They spent the rest of their meeting simply holding each other, exchanging small kisses, learning the landscape of each other's faces and bodies through careful, respectful touch. Velara memorized every sensation, storing it in her memory like precious data. When she left that night, she walked back to her quarters in a daze. Her mind was full of anticipation and nervousness. Tomorrow she would cross a threshold that no Corvathian had crossed before. She would experience intimacy not as a biological function. Part 5 the next evening arrived with agonizing slowness. Velara spent the day completing her required tasks, but her mind was elsewhere. She could not focus on reports or data. All she could think about was the coming night, about what she would learn and experience. She had never been nervous before. Corvathians did not experience anxiety about planned events. Everything in their lives was structured and predictable. But this was neither structured nor predictable. This was entering unknown territory with nothing but trust as her guide. When her shift finally ended, Velara returned to her quarters and stood in front of the small mirror. She looked at herself, really looked, perhaps for the first time. She saw her silver skin, her black eyes, her tall, slender form. She wondered if Teo found her beautiful. She wondered if her alien appearance would seem strange to him in intimate moments. Then she remembered how he looked at her. The warmth in his eyes, the gentle way he touched her. He saw her as beautiful. She knew that now. She changed from her uniform into simpler clothing, a soft gray tunic that was more comfortable. Then she made her way through the station corridors to Teo's quarters. Her heart beat faster with each step. By the time she reached his door, her hands were trembling. She pressed the door signal and it opened immediately. Teo stood there, also dressed in casual clothing. He smiled when he saw her, and some of her nervousness eased. Come in, he said gently. His quarters were larger than hers, with a separate living area and bedroom. He had dimmed the lights to a soft glow and played quiet music. The space felt warm and safe. Are you okay? Teo asked, taking her hands in his. I am nervous, Velara admitted, but I still want this. I want to be here with you. Good. That's normal. Even humans get nervous about intimacy, especially the first time. But I promise I'll take care of you. We'll go as slowly as you need, and if anything feels wrong, we stop immediately. Your comfort and pleasure are the only things that matter. Pleasure, Velara repeated the word. I still do not fully understand what that means. In Corvathian biology, reproduction involves no pleasure. It is simply a function that the body performs. The concept of physical pleasure is foreign to me. Then let me show you. Teo said softly. He led her to the couch and they sat down together. Pleasure is when something feels good. When sensation brings joy rather than just information. When I touch you like this. He gently stroked her arm. Does it feel good? Velara focused on the sensation. His fingers moving slowly along her arm created a warm, tingling feeling. Yes, she said. It feels pleasant, soothing. That's pleasure. Now imagine that feeling throughout your entire body. Imagine every nerve ending singing with sensation. Your mind focused only on how good everything feels. That's what intimate pleasure can be. I want that, Velara said. Show me. Teo leaned in and kissed her, and immediately Velara felt that overwhelming sensation again. But this time she was ready for it. She kissed him back, learning from the previous day, finding confidence in the movement. His hands moved to her waist and she felt her body responding, leaning into him, wanting more contact. They kissed for a long time, gradually becoming more comfortable with each other. Teo's hands explored her back, her arms, her neck, always gentle and respectful. Velara mimicked his movements, touching him in return, discovering the texture of human skin, the warmth of his body beneath his clothing. Can we move to the bedroom? Teo asked softly. We'll be more comfortable there. Velara nodded and they stood together. Teo led her to the adjoining room where a large bed dominated the space. The lights here were even softer, creating an atmosphere of intimacy and privacy. They sat on the edge of the bed, and Teo turned to face her. I want to show you something important about human intimacy. It's not just about the physical act. It's about vulnerability and trust. It's about letting someone see you completely, without barriers or defenses. That's what makes it beautiful. I trust you, Velara said simply. I am willing to be vulnerable with you. Then let me see you, Teo said. May I help you remove your clothing? Velara's breath caught. This was a significant step. Corvathians were modest by nature, always covered. To be unclothed in front of another person was something she had never done outside of solitary reproduction procedures. But she wanted to do this. She wanted to give this gift of vulnerability to Teo. Yes, she whispered. Teo moved slowly, giving her time to adjust to each stage. He helped her remove her tunic, then her undergarments until she sat before him with nothing concealing her. She felt exposed but not afraid. The way he looked at her with reverence and desire made her feel beautiful rather than vulnerable. You're stunning, Teo said softly. Every part of you is beautiful. Then he removed his own clothing, showing her his human form. Velara studied him with open curiosity. Humans were so different from Corvathians, and yet in this moment those differences seemed insignificant. What mattered was the connection between them, the trust and care that flowed in both directions. Teo guided her to lie back on the bed, and he positioned himself beside her. I'm going to touch you now, he said. Not just casually like before, but intimately. I want to help you discover what pleasure feels like. Just relax and let yourself feel everything. His hands began to explore her body with intention and care. He touched her arms, her shoulders, her sides, learning the topography of her form. Everywhere he touched, Velara felt that pleasant tingling sensation grow stronger. Her breathing became faster, her heart rate increased. Then his touches became more intimate, moving to areas that had never been touched by another being. Velara gasped as new sensations flooded through her. This was beyond anything she had imagined. Every nerve ending seemed to light up with pleasure, sending signals to her brain that overwhelmed her usual logical thinking. How does that feel? Teo asked, his voice low and gentle. Overwhelming, Velara managed to say. But good, very good. I did not know my body could feel like this. This is just the beginning, Teo promised. He continued his gentle exploration, teaching her about pleasure through patient, caring touch. He showed her that intimacy was not just about the destination, but about the journey, about taking time to discover and appreciate every sensation. Velara felt herself surrendering to the experience. All her life she had been taught to control her body, to ignore unnecessary sensations, to focus on logic and efficiency. Now she let all of that go. She let herself feel everything without analysis or judgment. She let pleasure wash over her in waves, building and growing until she thought she could not contain it. Teo, she gasped, not sure what was happening to her body. Everything seemed to be building towards something. Some peak she could not yet see but could feel approaching. I've got you, he assured her. Just let it happen. Don't fight it. Let yourself feel it. And then something inside her broke open, a release of pleasure so intense that she cried out. Her body trembled with sensation, waves of pleasure rolling through her one after another. Her mind went completely blank except for the overwhelming feeling of pure physical joy. As the waves gradually subsided, Valara lay there breathing heavily, her body still tingling with aftershocks of pleasure. She felt tears on her face again, but these were different from before. These were tears of joy and wonder and gratitude. What was that? She asked in awe. Humans call it an orgasm, Teo explained gently, wiping away her tears. It's the peak of physical pleasure. Your body releases all that built-up tension at once, creating that intense feeling. That was remarkable, Valara said, still trying to process the experience. I have never felt anything like that. I did not know such sensation was possible. And we're not done yet, Teo said with a warm smile. That was just your pleasure. Now comes the part where we share pleasure together. He positioned himself above her, supporting his weight on his arms, looking down into her eyes. This is where we truly connect, he said, where we become as close as two beings can be. Are you ready? Valara nodded, feeling both nervous and eager. Yes, I want this. I want to be completely connected with you. What followed was a revelation. As their bodies joined together, Valara understood for the first time what humans meant by making love. This was not reproduction. This was not biology performing a function. This was two conscious beings choosing to be together, to share pleasure and vulnerability, to communicate through physical connection in the most intimate way possible. She felt Teo moving with her, felt the rhythm they created together, felt pleasure building again, but in a different way this time. This was shared sensation, amplified by emotional connection. Every touch, every movement, every breath was a form of communication between them. I feel you, Valara whispered. Not just physically. I feel your emotions, your care for me. This is what you meant by connection. Yes, Teo said, his voice strained with his own pleasure. This is what it means to be close to someone. To share everything. They moved together until both of them reached that peak of pleasure, crying out together, holding each other tightly as waves of sensation washed through them. In that moment, Valara felt she understood something fun.